Welcome to the Daily Report on Thursday, July 17th. I'm Nancy Chen. Controversial pick. Democrats walk out as a Senate panel advances the judicial nomination of President Trump's former personal attorney, Emil Bove. Plus, the White House reveals President Trump has been diagnosed with a vein condition after questions are being raised about bruising on his hands.
Democratic lawmakers just walked out of a confirmation hearing for former President Trump's defense lawyer, Emil Bove.
Senators have a right to debate a controversial nominee, even if the die is already cast, even if my colleagues on the Republican side don't want to listen to any of the legitimate whistleblowing claims that have come out.
Bove denies all those accusations, and he did get a favorable vote today in the Senate Judiciary Committee.
The bill is amended as passed.
The Senate passed President Trump's request to cut $9 billion in foreign aid and funding for public broadcasting. That vote finished 51-48, with Republicans Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski joining the Democrats in opposing the package.
For many families, public television is one of their only early childhood education tools. We shouldn't be pulling the rug out of these children.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem hinted that the TSA may be ending its liquid restrictions on planes.
It is possible that as this policy relaxes, if that's what she decides to do, that it will center around this airport CT scanner technology.
Thank you for joining us. The Senate is advancing the nomination of a controversial Trump ally while the Justice Department fires the daughter of a Trump rival. The Senate Judiciary Committee voted in favor of putting President Trump's former attorney, Emil Bove, on a federal appeals court. That nomination now goes to the Senate, and the vote was 12-0 because Democrats walked out in protest. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker says Republicans did not give them time to debate what would be a lifetime appointment.
This is the world's most deliberative body, and we can't even debate a controversial judge, a judge that has been accused by a whistleblower of lying to the United States Senate, to lying to this committee. And so this is just a frustrating day.
Meantime, the Justice Department has abruptly fired federal prosecutor Maurene Comey. She helped prosecute the cases against convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Now, she is also the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, who President Trump fired in 2017. We're also keeping an eye on the White House, where the president has been diagnosed with a minor health condition related to his veins. And on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are moving forward with $9 billion in cuts to foreign aid and public broadcasting. The heads of NPR and PBS say those cuts could be disastrous for rural communities. We have CBS News team coverage on all this. Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane is in Washington. Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes is at the North Lawn. And congressional correspondent Nikole Killion is on Capitol Hill. But Scott, I'm going to start with you on all this. Emil Bove has been in the middle of a series of controversies in just really the first 6 months of the Trump administration. How has he become a key figure in the president's return to the White House?
He's had a high-ranking role inside the Department of Justice in this first 6 months, and he's had his fingerprints on some of the more impactful, high-profile decisions. He was there, part of the decision-making to drop that criminal case against New York Mayor Eric Adams. He was there as so many firings defined the first few weeks of the Department of Justice and continue to this day. And he was also in the room in some of the deliberations over what to do about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that high-profile case, and the man who was mistakenly deported from Maryland to El Salvador, despite a court order protecting him from deportation to El Salvador, a case that is still knotted up in the courts. So he's kept a high profile on hot-button things. So Democrats tried to make a move on him, tried to find some way to slow or stop his confirmation to a lifetime judgeship. And two particularly noteworthy things happened today. There was an 11th hour effort, CBS News has learned, from former prosecutors, some former judges trying to press one potential swing vote. North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis to vote against Bove. Tillis supported Bove, and Bove appears on a fast track to full confirmation to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals.
And that wasn't all that happened there. The committee also voted to advance the nomination of former Fox News anchor Jeanine Pirro to be the next U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C. If confirmed, what would she oversee?
It may sound obscure, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. It's a uniquely powerful position. perhaps the most powerful federal prosecutor in any district in America. Huge staff, huge bandwidth, huge portfolio. Jeanine Pirro comes into this position, if she is confirmed by the full U.S. Senate, with quite a bit of name recognition. She's a TV figure, a famous one at that, and she comes in with quite a bit of loyalty with President Trump. But she's also coming in after somebody who even Trump's allies stopped. The initial choice for U.S. Attorney for D.C. is a man named Ed Martin, a Stop the Steal advocate, a January 6th defense lawyer. Even the Republicans who are close to President Trump were not giving him full-throated support. He didn't make it. Jeanine Pirro did pass the committee today and appears also on a trajectory towards full confirmation.
And Scott, speaking of name recognition, today former U.S. Attorney Maurene Comey, the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, published a letter one day after she was fired by the Justice Department. And she wrote, in part here, if a career prosecutor can be fired without reason, fear may seep into the decisions of those who remain. Do not let that happen. Fear is the tool of a tyrant wielded to suppress independent thought. What have you learned about why she was removed from her position?
And the Department of Justice and the administration are not saying why, but I've seen letters like that before. There are now dozens of people fired from the Department of Justice in the past 6 months. Some say without due process or without cause. Maurene Comey, now the latest one.
Scott MacFarlane, thank you very much for joining us. The White House says President Trump has been diagnosed with a minor health condition affecting his veins. And here's what Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt told reporters about that earlier today.
The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70.
And CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes joins us now. Nancy, what kind of symptoms is the president experiencing?
He's experiencing, Nancy, some swelling in his lower extremities. And that's what folks started to notice in pictures of him and were posting online about it earlier this week. They noticed that his ankles appeared to be swollen when he was sitting down, and they were wondering what was going on. And so today, the White House press secretary, in her opening remarks, said that they were aware that people had questions about this, and she said the president had undergone a battery of tests. He had undergone some ultrasounds and some vascular tests as well. And according to the White House doctor, this is a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals who are over the age of 70. President Trump, of course, is 79.
And Nancy, I also want to ask you about the growing controversy over the administration's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Yesterday, President Trump called the Epstein story a hoax, and Karoline Leavitt was asked to clarify what part of the story was a hoax. Let's watch that.
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes.
So how does the White House respond to Republicans like Speaker Mike Johnson, who say the administration should release those files?
Well, they're trying to do exactly what you saw the White House press secretary do there, which is try to pivot and focus attention on Democrats. And yes, there has been some Democratic criticism. Yes, Democrats have made hay over this controversy, but make no mistake, it is by and large Republicans and conservative Republicans, MAGA Republicans, who are keeping this story alive and who are very upset that that this administration has not opened up the Pandora's box of the Epstein files. There are a lot of Trump supporters who, thought that when he came into office, perhaps they finally get a look at those files, the names involved. And there is incredible disappointment among many of the president's MAGA supporters, and as you've heard from some top Republicans on Capitol Hill as well, about the fact that the administration is basically now saying there's really nothing to see here. So we've heard from the president and from the White House press secretary now that they believe that Democrats are fanning the flames and keeping this alive. But, is something that you're hearing about in conservative media and from Republican lawmakers as well.
Yeah, a lot of those MAGA supporters very vocal in their disappointment. Nancy Cordes, thank you very much. The Senate has agreed to cut $9 billion from foreign aid in public broadcasting. Senators approved the cuts overnight by a vote of 51 to 48. Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski were the only Republicans to vote against the package. Democrat Tina Smith was in the hospital and could not vote. But that package now goes back to the House for final approval. Republican Senator Thom Tillis, who voted in favor of the cuts, acknowledged some of his colleagues may have buyer's remorse.
I suspect we're going to find out there are some things that we're going to regret, some second and third order effects, and I suspect that when we do, we'll have to come back and fix it. But I'm willing to give OMB and the president the benefit of the doubt that there are going to be responsible cuts.
In a statement, the head of PBS said, quote, "These cuts will significantly impact all of our stations, but will be especially devastating to smaller stations and those serving large rural areas." CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion has been following all this and joins us now. And Nikole, you just heard those concerns from the head of PBS. Given that, how are Republicans from rural states explaining their vote on this?
Well, keep in mind, these are also concerns shared by NPR, as we brought to you over the last several days following our interview with the president and CEO of NPR, that a lot of these local stations could be hard hit. But look, we did see in the Senate bill some adjustments made, particularly after some senators like Mike Rounds expressed concerns about the potential impact to rural stations. So he was able to secure a side deal, if you will, to make sure that rural stations in tribal areas have their funding preserved, at least for now. But still, that is not enough to address the larger situation, according to other critics of this package. So that being said, as you mentioned, we're expecting the House hopefully to take this package up in short order.
And Nikole, the House also passed some major legislation on cryptocurrency. Can you walk us through what those bills do and how significant is this for the crypto industry?
Well, it is significant in that this is the first time we have really seen Congress pass comprehensive legislation dealing with the cryptocurrency industry. Some have suggested that it's the Wild West in terms of any type of regulation. So in terms of the bills that were passed, one included the Genius Act, which basically establishes regulations for stable coins, which have been a growing component of cryptocurrency. You also have a second bill that deals more with the broader market structure of cryptocurrencies and regulating, for instance, when particular cryptocurrency is considered a commodity over a security. And then there was a third bill that dealt with language to prevent the Federal Reserve from creating its own digital currency, which really was a sticking point in this debate in terms of being able to finally bring these bills to the floor. So all of these certainly are, unprecedented in the sense that we really haven't seen Congress take up this issue in a meaningful way until now.
All right, Nikole Killion talking from a very loud and busy Hill. Thank you very much.